"You lazy, clumsy black woman. Can't you push harder?" The millionaire's voice cracked through the hospital room like a whip, his hand striking across his pregnant wife's face as nurses gasped in horror. The sound echoed against the sterile white walls, louder than the beeping monitors, louder than the cries of the woman who lay helpless and 9 months pregnant. Her cheeks burned red, her eyes welled with tears, not from the labor alone, but from the humiliation of being struck in public by the very man who promised to love and protect her. The staff froze. Silence smothered the room. But then the door opened, and in walked the doctor. A man no one expected. A man whose presence carried wealth, power, and authority beyond measure. What the millionaire didn't know was that this doctor wasn't just any physician. He was her father. A billionaire whose daughter's suffering was about to spark a reckoning that would shake the hospital to its core. Collision, and what happened next? It left everyone speechless. But before I take you deeper into this explosive story, hit that subscribe button, smash the notification bell, and comment where you're watching from. Because what you're about to hear is not just a story. It's a firestorm of betrayal, humiliation, and a shocking twist that turned weakness into unstoppable power. "You lazy, clumsy black woman. Can't you push harder?" The words ripped through the hospital room like a whip, just before his palm connected with her cheek. The sharp crack echoed louder than the steady beeping monitors, louder than the screams of labor, louder than the dignity that shattered in that sterile space. Naomi Ellis Vale recoiled on the bed, her swollen belly rising and falling with each contraction, her skin burning from both pain and humiliation. Her eyes watered, not just from the slap, but from the deep betrayal of being struck by the man who once swore to love and protect her. Carter Vale. Millionaire. Business tycoon. Hospital donor. He stood tall in his tailored suit, looking down at his wife as though she were less than human. To him, Naomi's pain was weakness, her cries an inconvenience. To him, her blackness was something to sneer at in moments of rage, even in a room full of witnesses. The staff froze. Nurses clutched charts to their chests. A junior doctor lowered her gaze. No one moved. Because Carter Vale's name wasn't just written on donation plaques across the hospital, it was stitched into their paychecks, their reputations, their very survival in a system that bowed to money before justice. Naomi lay there, trembling. She thought of the years she had sacrificed, her career, her independence, all for this man who promised her the world but gave her chains. Each contraction reminded her that life was still trying to push forward, but her spirit was shrinking under his shadow. And then, quietly, something shifted. A senior nurse, Lydia, broke from the paralysis. Her eyes locked on Naomi's, wide with silent apology, before she slipped out the door. Her steps were brisk, purposeful. She wasn't just getting more supplies. She was calling someone powerful enough to intervene. The air thickened, suffocating with silence. Carter adjusted his cufflinks, muttering about misinterpretations and emotional wives, as if words could erase the red imprint of his hand on Naomi's face. And then the door opened. In walked a man no one expected. A physician whose presence carried wealth, authority, and power beyond measure. What Carter Vale didn't know was that this wasn't just any doctor. It was Naomi's father. A billionaire who had been absent, but whose daughter's suffering was about to ignite a reckoning the hospital would never forget. Dr. Daniel Ellis walked briskly down the corridor, the fluorescent lights gleaming against his silver hair and white coat. A nurse handed him the patient file with urgency, whispering, "Possible abuse during labor. The husband is causing disruption." He flipped open the chart, scanning quickly. And then he froze. Naomi Ellis Vale. His breath caught. The letters blurred on the page, and for a moment the hallway seemed to tilt beneath his feet. That name, her name, pulled him back decades. Back to when she was a little girl with tight braids and paint smudges on her cheeks, chasing butterflies in a park while he stood in the distance, unsure how to bridge the gap after the marriage fell apart. He had walked away when he shouldn't have. And now, here she was, his daughter, in labor, in danger. He forced his hands steady, tucking the chart against his chest. This wasn't the time to collapse into guilt. She was a patient in crisis, and he was her attending physician. When Daniel pushed open the door, the first thing he saw was Carter Vale, tall, broad, and smug, standing like a king guarding his throne. And then, on the bed, Naomi. Sweat drenched her forehead, her eyes glassy with pain and betrayal. Their gazes locked, and in that single second, the truth rippled between them. Naomi knew. She recognized him. Her lips parted, trembling, but no words came. Carter broke the moment with a scoff. Finally. Maybe now someone competent can handle this circus. My wife is being dramatic, and your staff is overreacting. Dr. Ellis's jaw tightened, but his voice was calm, precise. Step aside, Mr. Vale. I need to examine my patient. He moved to Naomi's side, placing the stethoscope gently against her swollen belly. The monitor beside her beeped with late decelerations, her baby's heartbeat dipping dangerously low. He ordered oxygen, repositioning 4 fluids. His tone shifted into command, pulling the staff back to life. Nurses moved quickly, grateful for direction. But Carter wasn't done. She just needs to push harder, he sneered. You people always make a scene out of nothing. The words cut through Naomi like glass. You people. She clenched her teeth, shame and rage twisting inside her chest. Daniel's eyes flicked to Carter, cold and deliberate. This is a high-risk situation. My priority is the safety of the mother and child. If you cannot remain calm, you will leave this room. For the first time, Carter faltered. No one had ever spoken to him like that in public. Daniel turned back to Naomi, his voice softer now. You're safe. We're going to get you and your baby through this. Her hand trembled as it reached for his, gripping weakly. She whispered through the pain, Why did you leave? A knife twisted in his chest, but he steadied his tone. We'll talk after. Right now, focus on breathing. I'm here now. The monitor beeped again, louder, sharper. The baby's heart rate dipped dangerously low. Daniel straightened, voice commanding once more. Prep the oar. We may need an emergency C-section. The room surged into motion, and Carter Vale, furious, powerless, was forced to stand aside as the reckoning began to take shape. The double doors of the delivery room burst open as Naomi's bed was wheeled into the corridor. Nurses pushed with urgency, monitors blaring, 4 lines bouncing with each step. The air was electric, every second mattered now. And then came Carter Vale, storming alongside, his voice cutting through the panic. This is unnecessary. My wife doesn't need surgery, she just needs to stop whining and do her part. His words dripped with contempt, his eyes blazing with entitlement. Staff flinched but kept moving, their focus locked on Naomi's weakening vitals. Dr. Ellis strode at the head of the bed, his presence commanding. Her baby's heart is in distress. We're following protocol. Step back, Mr. Vale. But Carter was not a man used to being told no. He shoved his way forward, pointing an accusatory finger at the staff. If anything happens to my child, I'll own this hospital by morning. You'll all be out of jobs. Nurse Lydia's hands trembled as she steadied the 4-pole, but her voice broke through the noise. We heard what you did. We all saw it. Her words were quiet, but they carried weight. Other staff exchanged glances, fear mixed with defiance. Carter spun, his face red with rage. You people are nothing without donors like me. Don't forget who pays for this place. That was the breaking point. Dr. Ellis stopped in his tracks, turned, and faced Carter head-on. His voice was low, but it sliced through the corridor like steel. You don't own anyone here. And you certainly don't own her. Security officers, alerted earlier, appeared at the end of the hall. Carter barked threats. Do you know who I am? But Dr. Ellis gave a simple nod. The guards stepped in, blocking his path. Naomi, gasping between contractions, turned her head weakly toward the commotion. Her eyes fluttered shut, relief mixing with exhaustion as Carter's furious shouts were muffled behind the closing doors. Inside the OR, calm focus replaced chaos. Dr. Ellis gripped Naomi's hand. "You're not alone anymore. I'm here." The surgical lights flared to life, and for the first time that night, the balance of power had shifted. The operating room blazed with cold, white light. The air was sharp with antiseptic, the hum of machines and the rapid clicking of instruments filling every corner. Nurses moved with fierce precision, the anesthesiologist checking lines, the scrub tech handing over tools like clockwork. This wasn't just medicine, it was war, and Naomi was at the center. Dr. Daniel Ellis stood at the operating table, hands steady, eyes locked on the monitors. He had been in thousands of surgeries before, but this was different. This was his daughter. Each beat of her heart, each dip in the baby's vitals, felt personal, urgent, consuming. Naomi lay trembling, half-conscious, oxygen mask over her face. But she clung to one truth. Her father was here. After all the years of absence, he was here now, standing between her and death. Outside, in the waiting corridor, chaos brewed. Carter Vale was pacing like a caged animal, his expensive shoes clicking against the polished tile. His lawyer had arrived, briefcase in hand, whispering strategies. "We'll say it was stress. That you were encouraging her. A misunderstanding. Don't admit anything." Carter sneered. "They can't touch me. This hospital owes me. They'd collapse without my money." But then, the compliance officer, Ms. Ortiz, arrived with a security team. Calm but fiery, she carried a file thick with statements. "Several staff witnessed you strike your wife and use racial slurs, Mr. Vale. This is a mandated report. Donations don't erase violence." His face darkened, but before he could retort, a sound broke through the OR doors, sharp, piercing, undeniable. A baby's cry. Inside, the child had arrived, small, fragile, but alive. Naomi's tears rolled freely as the nurse placed the baby against her chest. Skin to skin, warmth to warmth. The cry grew stronger, filling the room like fire catching wind. Dr. Ellis's hands trembled for the first time, not from fear, but from overwhelming relief. "Healthy girl," he announced, voice breaking. 5 pounds, 10 ounces. She's strong. Naomi sobbed, clutching her baby. For a moment, the pain, the shame, the trauma, all of it gave way to light. But outside, Carter tried one last play. He raised his voice for everyone to hear. "I'm her husband. That's my child. You can't keep me from them." Ms. Ortiz stepped forward, her tone steel. "You struck your wife during labor. You endangered her and the baby. You're under investigation, and until cleared, you are barred from entering that room." Security closed in. Cameras from waiting reporters caught the scene through glass doors. Carter's red face, his fists clenched, his reputation unraveling in real time. Back inside, Naomi whispered into her newborn's ear. "You're safe now, my love. Safe." And for the first time in years, she believed it herself. Morning light spilled across the hospital steps, cameras flashing like wildfire as reporters swarmed the entrance. News had traveled fast, too fast for Carter Vale to bury it. The slap, the racial slur, the attempted cover-up, whispers had already turned into headlines. Carter emerged with his lawyer, trying to mask rage with charm. He adjusted his cufflinks, lifted his chin, and faced the crowd with the arrogance of a man who believed money could wash away sin. "My wife was under tremendous stress," he began smoothly, his voice amplified by microphones. "In the chaos of labor, things were misunderstood. I love my wife. I love my child. This is all being blown out of proportion." But his words never landed. A phone screen lit up in the crowd, and then another. A video clip had gone viral overnight, muffled audio from inside the delivery room. His voice, unmistakable. The words clear. "You lazy, clumsy black woman. Can't you push harder?" The sound of the slap cracked through the speakers. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Carter's polished facade shattered. His lawyer stammered, but reporters surged forward, pelting him with questions. Mr. Vale, did you strike your wife? Do you deny the racial slur caught on tape? How does your company respond to this? Inside, Naomi sat in recovery, her baby nestled against her chest, the sunlight streaming through the blinds. For the first time in months, she felt a steady calm. At her side stood Dr. Daniel Ellis, her father. They had years of distance to reckon with, but in this moment, he was simply present, his hand resting gently on her shoulder. Ms. Ortiz entered quietly, her expression respectful. Mrs. Ellis Vale, you have options. A protective order, legal counsel, hospital advocacy. You're not alone. Naomi lifted her gaze, her voice soft but firm. I'm not going back with him. Her father's eyes glistened with pride. You don't have to. Later that afternoon, Naomi recorded a short statement. No theatrics, no tears, just truth. I am safe. My baby is safe. No woman should be humiliated or harmed while giving birth. No one has that right, not even the man who vowed to protect her. The clip trended within hours, not as gossip, but as a rallying cry. Carter Vale's empire shook. Sponsors withdrew. Board members distanced themselves. And the hospital announced a new initiative for Black maternal health, funded not by Carter's donations, but by redirected philanthropy spearheaded by Dr. Ellis in his daughter's name. Naomi stood at the window, holding her newborn close. She had walked into that hospital broken, silenced, and shamed. Naomi stood at the window, holding her newborn close. She had walked into that hospital broken, silenced, and shamed. But she walked out stronger, her story no longer hidden, her dignity no longer negotiable. The reckoning had come. And this time it was hers. Her story wasn't just about labor. It was about laboring under abuse, racism, and control and finally breaking free. It was a reckoning that stripped power from arrogance and handed it back to courage. Collision. Now I want to ask you, if you were in Naomi's place, what would you have done? Would you have stayed silent or spoken out? Drop your answer in the comments below and let's start the conversation. And before you go, smash that subscribe button, ring the notification bell, and share this video, because stories like this one, they need to be heard. This wasn't just about a slap. It was about a system that tried to silence a Black woman, and the moment she rose, took her power back, and said, "No more."